Hi, everyone. I'm Dave, and you are listening to my podcast, The Reaction Shot. Listen as each episode will showcase a movie that I love being introduced to a friend of mine that has never seen it. We will discuss, dissect, and review each film from pre to post-production, as well as its legacy. Will we see eye to eye, or is our scope of viewing a little different? Thanks for hitting play, because now you're about to find out. Fade in. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Reaction Shot. We finally made it to episode 6, and today we are focusing on John Carpenter's 1978 independent teen horror slasher, Halloween. Joining me today is my friend, Brittany Cunningham. Hi Brittany, how are you?
Good. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited to have you on today. You are the first person outside of Lauren Drake that I have guesting on this, and I'm really excited to hear what you think about John Carpenter's Halloween.
I'm excited to talk about it because it's one of my scares of my life.
One of your scares, perfect. No, yeah, I think you and I always talk about movies. I feel like you and I have similar taste in different things. So you're always posting things on social media, and we're always,
Yes.
chatting a little bit about those movies you post. And I happened to mention Halloween to you, and you're like, absolutely not. So why have you never seen Halloween?
Well, when I was 10 years old, I saw Halloween H2O when I went on vacation with a friend of mine. I asked my mom. She said, sure, why not if your cousin's going? And that just spiraled into a 26-year fear.
For sure,
Ah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
H2O was the 7th entry in the franchise. I'm sure
7.
yeah, crazy, right?
That is
Uh,
insane.
yeah, Halloween actually has 13 films total at this point in time as of 2024.
Wow.
So, yeah, pretty
That's
crazy.
a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, I brought you all the way back to the beginning, back to the origin of Michael Myers, who
Where
at
it
the
all
time was
started.
where it all started. At the time, he was actually known as the Shape, which was how John Carpenter, the writer and director of the film, wrote him in the script. He wanted him to be like an ominous character, just kind of, lurking around in the shadows. So to not give him too much characteristic, he just kept referring to him as the Shape. He obviously becomes known as Michael Myers in the film itself. But it was pretty cool to get your hands on the script and see them just referring to him as something so creepy like that.
I
So,
believe it because they embodied it in the movie for sure.
absolutely. Okay, so a little bit of background on Halloween. It came out in 1978. As I mentioned, it was directed by John Carpenter, who at the time had only done a bunch of short films. He did have 2 feature lengths under his belt, one of which was Assault on Precinct 13. It was pretty popular movie, not as big a scale as Halloween eventually became. It was written by him and his girlfriend at the time, Deborah Hill. Deborah Hill actually wrote all of the female dialogue in the film. Yeah, so she wanted to input, her perspective as a woman, and decided to write the dialogue and kind of expand the female characters as they are. And obviously, Laurie Strode, the main character of the film, is very well written, in my opinion. We can definitely jump into that a little bit more.
I
Yeah,
agree with
Deborah
that.
Hill. Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome that John Carpenter had his girlfriend at the time, be a part of that. So he kind of got, an honest portrayal of women at the time as well. So pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so the film stars Nancy Keiss as Annie, PJ Souls as Linda, Charles Cyphris as Sheriff Brackett, Brian Andrews as Tommy Doyle, Nancy Stevens as Nurse Marion, John Michael Graham as Bob, Tony Moran as the face of Michael Myers, Nick Castle as the shape of Michael Myers, Donald Pleasance as Dr. Sam Loomis, Kyle Richards as Lindsay Wallace, and of course, infamously known Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode in her first ever feature film.
Love it.
Yes, yeah. Round of applause for Jamie.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people are shocked to know this is Jamie's first film. It is mentioned in the credits introducing Jamie Lee Curtis. And obviously, Brittany, you know who Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter of, correct?
No.
You don't? Okay, well, hey, fun fact. I get to share this with everybody. She is actually the daughter of Janet Leigh, who is the woman who is murdered in the shower scene in Psycho.
That's wild. That is so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, so throughout our little episode here, I'm actually going to talk about how John Carpenter honors Alfred Hitchcock, um, and how everything's kind of related in such an interesting way. So
I'll honestly whip that in my notes somewhere because I was like, this is giving John Hancock vibe through and through.
yeah,
So now that
yeah,
makes sense.
yep, yeah. Alfred Hitchcock is a huge inspiration for this film. John Carpenter absolutely obsessed over Alfred Hitchcock's films, and if you actually watch Halloween in like a mix of Alfred Hitchcock films, you would actually be
Mhm.
like, oh, it definitely seems like this would be one of them. So he definitely
Yes.
definitely did a good job there. The musical score for the film is actually done by John Carpenter, and everyone listening to this podcast knows the score of Halloween.
Yep. They
The
if they
mu-
don't, they should.
and yeah, if they don't, they should. If not, definitely get on wherever you stream your music and listen to that theme song. The music of this film is just creepy. I mean, it sticks with you. I mean, it's arguably probably one of the most noticeable horror film scores of all time.
One
Uh,
thousand percent.
1000%. I actually used to have it as a ringtone on my phone back in the day. So,
My brother would play it on his keyboard as I went to sleep.
hey, your brother's cool.
Uh, it was
Yeah.
in my brain 24/7.
So does it strike a chord with you whenever you hear it? Like, so whenever you started the film, I mean, it jumps right into the score where you like it.
Immediate, like I had to pause it because there is a knot in my throat, and I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. I'm fine. This is
You're
fine.
fine. You survived. You survived.
I did. I
Yeah.
survived, and I watched it 3 times actually.
Wow. Wow. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool. So my background with Halloween, it's actually the first horror film I ever watched. I
Huh.
was I was around 5 years old.
How did it
Uh,
not completely just like steal your soul?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't 100% remember it. I remember I was in my parents' basement. It was on TV, and I was watching little clips as wherever it started at. So I didn't watch
Okay.
from the beginning. But then when I was 8 years old, I actually watched it in its entirety. I rented it from a video store. What we used to do in the past. And
Yes. Blockbuster, shout out.
yeah, Blockbuster. Absolutely. Thank you, Blockbuster, for introducing me to all these films.
All the
Yes,
hits.
all the hits. Yeah, I went to my basement. I had Halloween on VHS and I watched it and I loved it. I was sat in the dark. I watched it. Michael's breaking down the closet door towards the end of the film, and I'm just like, this movie's awesome. So maybe people should have worried about me. It's fine. But
You turned out
I
great. We're
it
fine.
turned out great. Thank you, thank you. Um,
Huh.
but yeah, so seeing Halloween at such a young age, I always give credit to Halloween for kind of introducing me to what I love about film. It is an independent movie. It was made on $325,000. So
Wow.
yeah, it had a very low budget. We'll talk more about some of that stuff too, but it is an independent film, and it it literally just jumps into what I think is great about filmmaking. It's not perfect. It has its issues. We can sit here and nitpick apart all these little things, but it was filmed in 20 days. And if you think about 20
Oh,
days, 20 days and
that's a short amount of
325,
time.
right? Like, that's insane to me. And it's such an iconic film. I don't know. So I kind of give credit to it for me falling in love with films. Scream was the second horror film I saw, which obviously honors Halloween. Very much. And I don't know, I consider those two movies my favorite horror movies because they introduced me to it all. So yeah, that's my nerdy moment for you.
I love that. I love Scream. Scream is one of my all-time favorites.
Hell
John,
yeah.
like,
So yeah,
yes,
so Scream is one of your all-time favorites, which is something we've obviously bonded over. So you had never seen Halloween, and Halloween is so prominent in Scream. Have you watched Scream since you've watched Halloween?
I have not, but I need to because somewhere in my notes, I mentioned Stewart in a line that they say in Halloween, like, I'll be right back. That part, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, that person's dead, obviously.
Yeah, that person said, yeah. They obviously didn't know the rules then, so damn it.
Yeah, they didn't know the rules.
Yeah, man. Okay, so real fast. Obviously, Scream was the first episode I did because it is one of my favorite movies of all time. A
Yes.
couple of connections to kind of blow your mind a little bit.
Uh,
One of the killers, spoiler alert from Scream, is Billy Loomis, or Loomis from Halloween. There's your connection there. Also, his name is Dr. Sam Loomis. In Scream 5, we're introduced to Sam, which is Billy Loomis's daughter. Another connection. Yeah, good times. Also, Don't Fear the
I'm shook.
Reaper. Don't Fear the Reaper is played in almost all of the Scream movies. More prominently, if we're speaking about the original Scream, it's played in the bedroom when Billy first goes to Sydney's house and they're talking in the
Uh-huh.
bedroom. Don't Fear the Reaper is playing in the background. Don't Fear the Reaper, the song by Blue Oyster Cult, is also playing in the car when Annie and Lori are driving the car. So there's a Don't Fear the Reaper connection there. Funny thing being, Michael is following them in the car, so don't fear the Reaper. Billy Loomis is the killer and Scream, don't fear the Reaper. Cool, fun little connection there.
That's
Also,
wild.
also
So clever.
this is where my brain goes. Also, towards the end of the film in Halloween, Laurie tells the kids to run down to the Mackenzie's house, which is the exact same thing
I
Casey
did know
Becker's
that.
parents say. Excellent, good catch.
Yes, yes, yes.
Also, my favorite thing, last thing we'll get into with the Scream connection. One of my favorite things I actually talked about in episode 1 is in the scene when Jamie Kennedy's character Randy is on the couch watching Halloween by himself after everyone left the party, and Ghostface comes into the room. Ghostface is standing behind him. At the same exact time, Randy is watching Halloween, and Michael is behind Laurie, who is played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Kennedy's character Randy is saying, "Look behind you, Jamie. Jamie behind you." Wild, right?
My mind is blown. Now I have to watch Scream.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah,
Oh,
if anyone asks me, things that are important in the world, I'll be like, I have no idea. But if you ask me, a silly scene about Scream or Halloween connections,
I got
I got
you.
I got you guys. A trivia night incoming. Give me a call. I'm there for you.
Here for it.
All right, so the making of the film, like I said, was 20 days. It was pretty fast. Donald Pleasant's character, Dr. Sam Loomis, is very prominent in the film. However, all of his scenes were shot in 5 days. Isn't that wild?
That is.
Um,
So was Jamie, do we know if Jamie was there for the whole 20 days since she is the main character?
I'm not quite sure if she was there for all 20 days. I do know that the opening sequence of the film took 2 full days to film. So I would say Jamie was probably there for, we'll say roughly 15 of them. She was probably
Okay.
the most present for it.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'll definitely look into that because that's kind of stuff I like to learn. you
Yeah,
know?
same. The rabbit
Uh,
hole. Deep down.
I love it. We love those types of things.
Hmm.
Cool. So, Brittany, now that you have watched Halloween, can you give me a basic rundown of what the plot of the film is?
I feel like the plot of the film is honestly a coming of age because Barry is in high school. It's their high school friends are getting ready. They're just talking about normal teen things, and you don't realize like what's lurking behind you. And it couldn't really be a metaphor for anything. But
Sure.
just I think the fate of destiny, whatever that may be, will always happen in the end. Is
Mm,
how what I took from the movie.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Halloween is a pretty simple film. I think you can really break different symbolisms down as well. How do you feel the film holds up all these years later, now in 2024?
Honestly, it's like you can tell that it is like an independent film, but at the same time, I think it can stand next to something like Hereditary
Mhm.
or what other big one, like Insidious type stuff, because it's still scary, because it's so realistic. It's a small town, and you're just living your everyday life, and all of a sudden, there's a weird man behind the bush.
Not the weird man behind the bush.
You're like, oh,
Uh,
what's that?
what's
Yeah.
up, man?
So, so yeah, I think it stood the test of time and it's still going because a lot of films, a lot of horror films, you can tell are influenced by the original Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween, it's actually one of the things I have in my notes is Halloween is honestly like the blueprint for horror films, if not more importantly, the slasher genre. Uh,
Yes.
there were two big slasher films that came before Halloween, Black Christmas, and also Texas Chainsaw Massacre is kind of thrown into the slasher genre. It doesn't really. How do you feel about that movie?
That movie, no.
You've
I've
seen it?
seen it. Yes, I've seen it. And I don't want to do it ever again.
Okay, boy, I love
I
that.
know that one gave me true nightmares.
Sure,
True nightmares.
pretty haunting for sure. Uh, but yeah, I mean, to me and to some film historians, apparently, Halloween is definitely considered like the godfather of horror films. So, how great of it is that a film with such a little budget just became such a phenomenon and is still talked about, replicated, and so well known, even for people who haven't seen the film.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love
So,
that Jamie was the original Scream Queen. Like,
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, so Halloween actually introduced like a horror movie trope of the final girl. So we've had female characters in past horror films who have obviously survived. However,
Hmm.
Halloween is the first time that we had a female character that was so well written. She was your everyday relatable girl next door. She used her brains to try to outsmart the killer and came through in the end. It's definitely known to have created that final girl idea, and that still sticks around to this day. We're always talking about the final girl in horror films. So kudos to John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis to make that happen.
I love it. I love that for them.
Right. What did you think? What did you think about the fashion of this movie, the outfits and all of that? Did you notice anything significant about it? Were they low key? Were they high budget? What did you think about that?
I feel like honestly it was just like very simple 70s. I was digging Jamie's all of her outfits throughout it. I don't know. I think it was very simplistic for teens, not too flashy because there's not 16, 17-year-olds. Well, there are in this day and age, but back then, nah, they're just living their lives.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, fun fact about the wardrobes, all the outfits were all of the actors from their own closet.
Was it
Nothing,
nice?
nothing was provided. Jamie Lee Curtis was $100, and she went to J.C. Penney's and bought all of her own clothing. Everything that
She
she
had
wears in this,
fantastic style.
yeah, everything she had in the film is what she thought Laurie Strode, as an actual real life being, would actually wear. So I think that's pretty cool.
That is
Um,
amazing.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into the movie here. Any things you have to say along the way? Obviously, let me know. We'll chat about it. The film opens up with opening credits of a jack-o'-lantern right in your face. We very slowly pull closer and closer into it as the credits roll and the infamous Halloween theme song plays. And we are welcome to a title card that says Halloween Night, and the year is 1963.
Yes.
So, this opening scene, how did you feel about this? Is your introduction to the original Michael Myers. This is where it all began. How did you feel about this opening?
Well, the first time I watched it, I was like, I need them to speed this up. It was the longest intro I felt. I think it's 2 minutes, I want to say I wrote down. But I think it was interesting on how just the lighting of it, because it just brings in the spooky,
Mhm.
just brings it in.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're on a little steady cam shot of someone watching a man and a woman making out inside of a house. The man is actually playing around with a little clown mask, which was the original mask they were going to use for Michael Myers throughout the film. So, yeah, so they actually had two different masks they were going to use. They had the clown mask, which they added frizzy red hair to, and they also had the William Shatner Captain Kirk mask that they spray painted blue. They tore off the eyebrows and they painted the hair dark brown color, which is what eventually becomes Michael Myers' actual mask. So they purchased that mask for $1.98. Did you know that about the mask?
I knew about that it was William Shatner's face. The fact that a $1 mask has scared me for so long.
That's something you should always remember.
That's
$1.98.
crazy.
$1.98 William Shatner mask has given you nightmares for all of these years.
That is too funny. Oh,
Yeah. So they decided that the William Shatner mask was much scarier because it was emotionless. And what's more terrifying than an emotionless figure coming at you, in such fearful moments? But they wanted to still use the clown mask. So in this opening sequence, we see the mask being used as the boyfriend is making out with the girlfriend. He drops it on the ground, and we get a POV shot of some little teeny tiny hands grabbing a big old butcher knife from the kitchen. So in this opening sequence, we are in the eyes of the killer. This has been done before in film. However, this is one of the longest tracking shots of something like this happening. So it really puts you in the POV. Instead of just being afraid of what's lurking around, you are actually what is lurking around. So I think that's a pretty cool technique. The man and the woman go upstairs, come back down after what feels like 30 seconds. Not quite sure what happened up there, but
yeah.
it comes back down. And as the man leaves, we, as the point of view of the killer, go upstairs to see the woman who is sitting at her little desk doing
Her little mirror naked.
her
I
little
was like, why are we half naked? What is this?
yeah, it's just I feel like they went upstairs and then within 30 45 seconds,
He
he's
ran
putting
back
his
down and
clothes back.
left.
Yeah, yeah, he's putting his clothes back on. She's still completely naked, and that mask is lying on the floor, and it gets picked up by us. So now we're seeing through the eyes of a mask, which is the silly clown mask, and she turns around to see who we are, and she screams, "Micah!" And we just start stabbing
Slap,
her.
right? So what threw me off,
Yes.
I will say about that is like the point of view of Michael. He's supposed to be 6, but he's towering over literally everything. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
happening right now?
Yeah, when you rewatching this, I feel like every time with any movie you start noticing little things here and there. Yeah, a lot of the shots, if you're really like breaking it down from a 6-year-old perspective, you're just like you said, towering over. When he reaches for the knife, it's almost like he has a Stretch
The,
Armstrong arm.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so it's yeah, we got little things to work out there, but yeah, so he slash we in the point of view kill this girl, and we walk back down the steps outside to meet his parents and reveal that this is a 6-year-old child. As you mentioned, they mentioned his name, Michael, and he stands there with a bloody knife, and we smash cut to a title card that says Smiths Grove, Illinois. This now is officially taking place 15 years later in 1978, which puts Michael Myers at the age of 21 years old.
Yes.
Oh, so what an iconic opening scene. The way that it's shot, what it introduces to us is pretty phenomenal. Now we are in a car with Dr. Sam Loomis and Nurse Marion Crane, and they are driving to the psychiatric ward where 21-year-old Michael Myers is getting ready to go stand before a judge to be on trial for the murder that happened 15 years ago. We find out that was his sister that he murdered. Yeah. So, what did you think of this scene? We're introducing ourselves to the psychiatric ward. Do we get inside the hospital, or what's happening here?
It's interesting that they don't get inside the hospital because we pull up and everybody, like all the patients are outside, which spooky. Oh,
Yep.
how'd you get out? 2, it's raining. 3, what are we doing? What's happening?
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Like
Um,
wild.
Wild for sure. So they have a little bit of dialogue in the car here. It's kind of a quick rundown of where Michael's at now. Dr. Loomis is his doctor. He's been seeing him for the past 15 years. He talks about how this is no human. This is pure and simply evil. There's
Yes.
nothing behind Michael's eyes. Nurse Marion's kind of dismissing it, just kind of like, all right, whatever, let's get this guy. As you mentioned, all the psychiatric patients are outside. As they pull up to the gate, they are confused. Why are all these patients out? So in a typical horror movie fashion, Dr. Loomis gets out of the car to go up to the gate,
Naturally.
leaving Nurse Marion in the car all by herself. And then next thing we know, a figure runs up on the car and then slams their hand through the window. Dr. Marion Crane starts driving and she stops the car. Michael pulls her out. We find out that it is Michael that is doing this, and he gets into the car. We don't see his face. He doesn't have a mask on. We just know that it is a male that is getting into this car. We assume it is Michael, and he drives off. So 15 years, went into the psychiatric hospital at the age of 6. After 15 years, he's 21 and apparently knows how to
Ready
drive
to
a car.
drive.
Right.
He's learned a lot of things in that place.
Listen, yeah, I mean, I
One
don't know
being operating a vehicle.
operating a vehicle 100%, like that. What a dream. At the age of 16, if I would have just been able to hop into a car and be like, peace out, guys, that would have been great.
Right? Breezy. Right? Just traveling.
Yes.
Road
Michael
trips every
Myers,
day.
the iconic driver that you are. Thank you so much for your contributions. Jump cut to the morning time. We are now at Halloween. So the rest of the film takes place on Halloween Day. Surprise, surprise.
Yes.
It takes place in Illinois, and we got all these bright green leaves for Halloween. What do you think
Not
about that?
fall at all.
Not fall at all.
I honestly did not even notice that. So the fact that you said it, now I have to watch it again and look at it because the trees weren't turning. Didn't know it.
So this was filmed in the spring of 1978,
Okay, that
and
makes sense.
it was in Pasadena, South Pasadena, California, and there's two big factors there that there's not going to be a lot of changing leaves. So what they did was they got a bunch of artificial leaves and real leaves, and they had a bunch of people on set just paint them different colors for autumn leaves. And they would use the same bunch of leaves, and they would just, every scene that they were in, they would just throw them around. If you notice, like in scenes when there's some walking or driving and the leaves are blowing through the air, there's actually people standing behind the camera just tossing leaves. And if you watch closely, you can kind of see the way that they're being thrown about, that they're actually being thrown. It's kind of silly.
Yes.
But that's great filmmaking. I love it. I nerd out for stuff like that.
That's so creative and interesting because one, it was probably so hot in the spring in California. So you're wearing clothes in the 70s to try to match fall.
Yeah.
Commitment. Mm-hmm. And you're throwing leaves at these people.
Commitment for sure. Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger, was actually one of the people on set who was just collecting the leaves and throwing them and collecting the leaves and throwing them on set. So pretty cool, fun little
facts. Did he do that before? Did he do that before or after?
It's around the same time, actually.
Okay.
I think Nightmare on Elm Street came out the same year, to be honest.
That's pretty cool.
Right after, yeah. But yeah, so Robert Englund started with that. I thought that's pretty neat. He's a good friend of John Carpenter's, so I think he just came to set and was like, "Hey, I'll help you throw around these colored leaves."
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Laurie's dad is a realtor. He gives her a set of keys to go drop off at the Myers house. Laurie is then joined by little Tommy Wallace, boy that she babysits, who lives in the neighborhood. The two of them walk to the Myers house, where Laurie is set to drop the keys off. Tommy warns her, "Do not go there. That's a scary house. Like, you can't go in there." And Laurie's like, "Watch me."
Yes, I can. Here I go.
Absolutely. Real final girl momentum right there. We love it. So she walks up to the house, drops the keys off. She's walking away. From the audience perspective, we're inside the house watching her do this. And then all of a sudden, Michael stands in front of the camera, which means he is watching her.
You hear the breathing. The breathing kills me. Just like that. I'm like, sir, chill.
Sir, have you been working out? He's just been driving all the time.
He's so tired.
He's so tired.
Out of breath.
Exhausted.
Yikes.
15 years of being trapped and finally being able to go around and drive.
Honestly, he's on the run back home.
It's really real though. So this is Michael's first time seeing Laurie. The way I took this is he sees some random woman coming up to his childhood home, and he kind of becomes obsessed with her at this point. Throughout the film, we see him kind of following her around. He gets into his stolen automobile, drives around, follows her and her friends, and just kind of watches what she does. So pretty creepy. If only her dad wasn't lazy to walk down the street a couple of blocks and drop the key off himself, This movie would
right?
have been
Like,
completely different.
I know it wouldn't have even happened.
It wouldn't have happened at all. Michael would have been like, well, that's a stupid guy. I don't want to follow him.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
I don't want that man.
right. So throughout the movie, we kind of cut back and forth through Lori and Dr. Loomis. Dr. Loomis is following himself back to Haddonfield because he thinks that Michael is going to go back home, which we as an audience know that this is true since he is at his old childhood home that is very
Yes.
run down at this point. So he's letting everyone know that he's going to be doing that. And when we jump back to Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Lori, she's sitting in class, looks out the window, and notices a man standing wearing a white mask outside of the car, watching her from across the street. How's that?
Watching, waiting. If I were her, I'd have been like, does anybody see that? No,
Right,
nobody.
right. Yeah. Just some guy in a white mask.
Somebody just staring at us, staring at me, I guess.
Yeah. So it was all for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lori's, watching him kind of confused as to what's going on, looks away to answer a question in class, and then looks back, and he's gone. He drove off in his cool car.
It did.
Then we cut to Michael, and he's now following Tommy Doyle, who was with Lori when the keys were dropped off. So now he's kind of watching Tommy. So the original idea of this film, it was presented as this independent film producer wanted to make a horror movie about a psychotic killer who stalks babysitters. So John Carpenter and Deborah Hill wrote the script called The Babysitter Murders. The financial backer, Mustafa Akkad, said that he thought it'd be scarier if they based it on one night and put it on Halloween. So they kind of reworked the script and then eventually called it Halloween. So the original idea was, as Casey Becker in Scream says, a guy in a white mask who walks around and stalks the babysitters. I love that concept. If you look at the film as a whole, that is literally what it is. So
it is.
So
it's actually crazy to put 2 and 2 together like that.
Yeah. So one of the things I love about it is how it is so simple. Have you seen The Strangers from 2008?
I have.
How do you feel about that movie, Brittany? I wish you guys could see Brittany's face right now.
That movie, that was another one. So I've seen it, but it also I saw it through my eye, like my hands, because I was so terrified. I was
Sure.
Yeah, the scene in that movie where that person comes up and you only see half of their face, and there's like, is Rachel there? And I'm like, yo, no, absolutely not.
Nope.
She's not here. She doesn't exist.
Yeah, we don't know her. Go away. Go to the next house, please and thanks.
Yes. But is that kind of connected?
Yeah. So like in my opinion, I think what makes this Halloween, if we're looking at it just from a standalone 1978 Halloween film, the simplicity of just some random guy following these babysitters around and murdering them is just as effectively creepy as The Strangers. At the end of The Strangers, they, why are you doing this? And they say, because you were home. What is more frightening than just you're in the wrong place at the wrong time?
And then you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, but at your own home.
At your own home.
You just walked by this person who said, huh, that looks interesting. You're like, no, I'm not that interesting. Promise you. Please don't.
Yeah, it's so creepy.
I think that's why Halloween scared me so much as a kid, because it could happen anywhere.
Yeah, and that's what to me makes these films so good and timeless, because these really can, like you said, just happen in any random town. There's something a lot scarier about small town creepiness like this, as opposed to obviously crime unfortunately happens in large cities all the time, but just being stuck in kind of this wide open space, not really a lot of places to go or run to, and if you can't rely on your neighbors, you have nothing else but your own survival instincts.
If you can't rely on your neighbors, because that one lady, she just closed things down and said, that was disrespectful.
Yeah, turn the lights off. They're like, yep.
Yeah, she's like, not home. Like, you hear this girl screaming on the top of her lungs, help me. And you're like, can't.
She's
like,
tomorrow. Honey, those kids are playing pranks again. It's Halloween.
Yeah. pesky kids.
Pesky kids, those damn kids running around. Yeah, so I think the simplistic idea that Carpenter was presented about killer stalking babysitters, timeless. Spoiler alert for future Halloweens, Brittany, you watched Halloween 2, correct?
I did.
Okay,
I did.
so in Halloween 2, we are introduced to the idea that Laurie is Michael's other sister. How did you feel about that?
Which confuses me
Mm-hmm.
because I don't understand. Was she actually, or was it the idea because how you said that she went to the house and like now he feels like a connection because it's like, oh, this girl could be my sister, but like, where was the baby the whole time?
So the way they thought it up was John Carpenter and Deborah Hill were writing the script for Halloween 2, and he mentions that halfway through the writing process, they felt like they were stuck. So they wanted to reveal a twist, and they thought, well, why don't we just make Laurie Michael's sister so there's a bigger connection there? So she's essentially supposed to actually be his sister, according to Halloween 2. It's said that parents conceived her not long after the murders to start a new family, and
That's fair.
yeah,
Okay.
you
I'll
know.
accept it.
So yeah, so I mean, obviously that means Laurie would have been 15 years old in this movie if the timeline works out that way. So
Yeah.
I appreciate the idea of what they were doing there, but I think you just kind of cut a piece of what made the first one so good, which is it's just a random attack. It's just wrong place, wrong time type of thing. So
Yeah.
and then, out of all the 13 films, they eventually decided down the road that they wanted to bring Laurie back 40 years later and do a direct sequel to the OG one. So, so in 2008, they introduced Halloween as a requel, which is a continuation of the original story. It ignores everything that happened in Halloween 2 all the way through the entire time. It only focuses on Halloween 1. So in that requel reboot, it spawned 3 more Halloween films, and it ignored the fact that Laurie is his sister and just focused on the fact that she was random attack and Michael's not going to stop going after the person that he originally set his eyes on and will kill anyone that gets in the way of him getting to her.
So now I have to watch the requel because I need to know what actually happens.
Yeah. So there's a lot of timelines in the Halloween thing. I'm just gonna focus on this movie, but there's several timelines that you can watch, and Jamie Lee Curtis is in a few of them. Some of them aren't canon to the original one. Some of them are. It's a whole process.
Yeah, I saw Paul Rudd is in one of them, and I was like, should I watch this?
Yeah,
maybe because I love him.
That was actually his first movie.
Was it? No, I have to. I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's not awesome. The best. It's not the best, but
I will believe that.
You got to watch it.
I would give him because his career from then to now is
astonishing.
Amazing.
Yeah,
beyond astonishing. Love him.
I don't know why I chose that word, but it came out. So congratulations on your astonishing career, Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So got a little sidetracked there, but jumping back into the movie, we get back to Loomis, who is at a payphone and notices a garage. And at this garage, it appears that Michael Myers has murdered someone that is working at this garage and has taken his jumper suits, which is what has become Michael's, outfit throughout the whole run of the series. We know it was Michael because he has his gown on from the psychiatric ward. It's thrown about everywhere, and we see a dead body of what looks like what would have been a mechanic. So
yes,
Loomis,
and there was that Red Rabbit or Rabbit in the Red match booklet.
Yeah, good call. Good looking out on that. So at the beginning, when we first introduced to Dr. Loomis and Marion Crane, he notices there's a little matchbook on the dashboard of the car. So it's the same matchbook that he sees at the scene of the crime.
Yes.
So that's a lot of things that we're like, oh shit, here we go. All
here
right.
We go.
So Michael has committed his first murder as an adult that we know of. He has his hero costume on, and he's going about the town to wreak havoc. Back at school, we are introduced to Annie and Linda. Brittany, how do you feel about Annie and Linda as friends to our wonderful Laurie Strode?
Annie is a mean girl. I'm just gonna say it right now. She definitely does not like either of those two. Linda was fine. She was. I think she was just there for the ride. But
Yep.
Annie was a hater.
Man, Annie is just some of the things that she does and says to Lori throughout this movie. I'm like, you're such a bitch.
She's so mean. Like, she's like, oh, called that baby like, please don't help me. Help
Right?
me. And when I wrote down after she came on screen, I said Annie's dying first for sure. She's so
You nailed it.
mean. Like,
You nailed it.
just get her.
Yeah,
Take her
and
out.
that's actually one of the horror movie tropes that is introduced in this film is essentially if you are the sidekick, if you're super sarcastic, mean, ultra funny, you're gonna get murdered. Yeah,
Rightfully so. Because
rightfully so.
whenever Michael dives across, and I think Linda says, "Is that Graham Donovan?" First off,
Hmm.
who's Graham Donovan? Because I need to see that man's face if that's what you think he looks like.
I love his big scary white face and his really bad
Yeah,
brown hair.
as he's speeding down the street, which threw me off because he was speeding, but he was driving slow, and then he like came to a halt, but
Mm.
he like never went faster. I was confused.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
he's definitely driving slow enough to like peer at them. And
yes.
this is actually the scenes we're at. So we're getting a little dialogue, getting to learn who Annie and Linda are, and they're walking home from school, and that the car drives past, and we know that it's Michael, and he just kind of like hears them a little bit. As you said, he was driving a little slow, and then he slams on his brakes when Annie screams, "Hey, asshole, speed kills!" Slams on his brakes, and Lori's like, "Shit."
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
don't draw attention to us.
right, right. This is a very this is a time in America, I believe, where people left their doors and windows unlocked, and everyone was just kind of like doing their own thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think to see someone react that way to someone saying something kind of struck a chord with Lori being like, that's a little weird that he's, acting that way.
Yeah, like that's so aggressive. Like
So aggressive.
we all live in the same town. Like we're chill. We're neighbors. Not
For
you.
real though.
Not this one.
Yeah. Not Graham Donovan. This is a good scene just because we're getting to learn who these characters are. One thing I will say about this film too is that it just goes. It gives us
It
enough
does.
inform it gives us enough information to not feel like everything's one dimensional,
Hmm.
but still keeps the momentum going. So I get sad when I hear people say they think the first Halloween is boring. I just feel like people don't have any excitement in their
Yeah,
life if they think it's
I
boring.
honestly didn't think it was boring at all. Like it keeps you on
Cool.
your toes because you don't know where he's gonna be because he's literally always behind them.
Mhm.
He's behind the doctor, he's behind the kids, he's parked in front of the house. Like, this man's everywhere.
Yep.
But
Yep.
nobody sees him. He's everywhere, but nobody sees him.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the funny things throughout the film too is when, the whole time Dr. Loomis is, not far behind, and once he gets to the town, every time Dr. Loomis turns, it goes around, but Loomis is always facing the wrong direction. I'm like, will
It
you just
would
turn around?
would you just turn around? Can you just because you know that he's in a car. So can you just look to the streets whenever you're talking to the sheriff and he's just parked behind you and turns? I was like,
Right.
it's like a Tom and Jerry type of deal. It's like
Absolutely.
it's like the cat can't catch the mouse because the cat's not paying attention to where he's actually supposed to be paying attention to.
You're not wrong. One of the things I read is someone said this movie just tells you that all the adults are really stupid and none of them know how to do their jobs correctly.
I mean,
And I
they're
was like, you're
not
not.
wrong.
Yeah, that breaks it down pretty well. All right, so Linda goes up to her house. She's like, "All right, see you later." Annie and Lori still have a little bit of walk to go together, and Lori happens to look forward and see that man in a white mask standing next to bushes, and he's
Yep.
just watching them. He's right ahead of them. He's staring right at them. Annie, of course, is playing around on her purse, not paying attention. Lori tries to bring attention to it, and once Annie finally looks up, he's not there anymore.
And she's
So
sarcastic, like, is that your new boyfriend?
yeah. So then Annie, being the bitch that she is, walks over to the
She's terrible.
bushes. She looks where the person was standing. Lori's still standing back, a little bit fearful. And Annie said, "Hey, Lori, he wants to talk to you." So Lori goes over and she's kind of like, "What? Maybe this is Graham Donovan." And
That
I'm just gonna say that name all the time now.
I love it.
So
I love it.
So Lori comes over to the bushes, and Annie said, "Poor Lori, scared another one away." Like, Annie, do you
Like,
have anyone? And she does, but
yeah.
she's
Right,
dumb.
but he Paul.
Paul.
Hard
Yeah.
eye roll.
Hard eye roll. We actually never meet Paul, so we just hear Paul on the
Yeah.
phone. So
And we
I
hear
think
her sing that Paul song or whatever she's singing.
yeah, she's something. Silly Annie.
She honestly, every time she came on screen, I'm like, she needs to go. Get her out of
For real though. So Annie finally leaves. Lori runs into Sheriff Brackett, who's actually Annie's father, and
here.
he's just kind of like, well, have a great Halloween night, Lori. And he walks back to his house, and Lori goes about her business. She gets back to her house. She sees some kids trick or treating outside, and she she has a little bit of dialogue, and she kind of talks to herself and says, "Well, kiddo," it's just so silly.
Yeah, and she was super nostalgic for trick or treating, but like she's not that old, so I was not confused, but I was wondering, like, because she says something about superstitions.
Hmm.
I forget what the line was, but I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, she, like you said, she's so happy to see the trick or treaters, and she's just kind of watching them. They're having a good time. She says, "Well, kiddo, I thought she outgrew superstition." So she looks
That's what she
back.
says. Yes.
Yeah, she looks back at the bushes. Michael's obviously not there. So she's all giddy now. She's like, "Why am I scared? I'm so silly." Little does she know she should be scared. Uh,
She absolutely
yeah,
being
and then
watched at all times.
she's in her house and she's looking out her window from her bedroom, and there's Michael again, just standing in the hung laundry sheets. So what a little iconic visual there. Michael just standing there staring at her up to the window, and freaks her out. And of course, she looks away for a second, looks back, and he's gone again. Lori decides that she's gonna take a small little nap before she goes to babysit Tommy. The other girls, Annie and Linda decide. I'm just making up characters now. That's actually her very nice friend is Anna. We just don't get to see her. So
Yes,
yes.
that's the good version.
um, so the girls have great plans for tonight. They're gonna have a bunch of wild sex. Lori's gonna carve pumpkins with the kids. So they're all gonna be at
Yes.
opposite houses, but they plan on all kind of coming together and doing their own things. Annie comes and picks Lori up, and little innocent Lori gets to smoke some weed from Annie. How nice of her.
Yeah, she does. Right?
Yeah.
She's like, thanks.
Uh-huh. She kind of like looks at it for a
That's
second,
literally
like,
the only time that she was nice to her. It's like, hey, you want this
right,
hit? Sure.
right, yeah. Rest of
Otherwise,
the
we're
time,
gonna talk about this kid that you like, and
for
I'm gonna have him come over for
mm,
you, even though you don't want that. You're welcome.
for real. Back to Dr. Loomis. He's now visiting Judith Myers, which is Michael's sister that is murdered at the beginning of the film. He's visiting her grave and discovers that the tombstone is missing.
Spooky. Do you know who
Yeah.
the gatekeeper is?
I don't.
No, so he was in Hook. He's the guy who lost his marbles.
Really? I did not know that. There you go.
Yeah. I
I
looked
learned
at him, I
something.
said, that man looks familiar.
I
So I
know that
looked it up
guy.
naturally. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's me too. Yeah, I should like
Always.
when I watch movies. I'm weird. I don't like to like pause movies or like turn it off or whatever. But I kind of keep like a running thing. Like I have to look into this. I have to look into that and the connections and who's that. So that's cool. I had no
Every
idea.
time.
So
Every time.
so
Yeah.
thank you.
You're
Yeah. So
welcome.
missing Tombstone. He's like, goddamn kids playing pranks on Halloween. Do you remember the days, Brittany, when you would
Pesky.
go to you would go to the graveyard and
Nobody's
just
taking, yeah. Never.
yeah.
I can barely
Which
pick up that
actually
back. You drunk. Like, what?
I right. It's funny because in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, they're actually stealing bodies from graves and tombstones as well. So I'm like, is
Hmm.
this something you guys did in the 70s? Like, was that how you got by? I don't. You guys are
Maybe.
wild.
Wild. They need to find a
uh,
hobby and not that.
for real. So on Annie and Lori's little journey, smoking some weed, see Annie's dad. They're quickly like, "Oh no, put out the weed, put out the weed." Mr. Brackett leans into the cars. The girls stop, and this idiot doesn't even smell the weed at all. So that's cool.
Like, what kind of sheriff are you?
For real though, come on, man. But the reason they stop is to say hi to him, and he's letting them know that the local convenience store was broken into, and all that was taken was a mask, some rope, and a couple of knives. So this is where we kind of put the connection together that Michael stole the mask from this place, and he also got a couple of knives and a rope as well. So Michael knows where to go to really set up his ensemble. So I'm happy to
Yes.
this man, a good driver, great thinker. strong,
knows where to buy a shop. Like
for real.
he was ready. He had this plan.
He really did. That's what 15 years in mental asylum got him, I guess. So Loomis now is in Haddonfield. He's at the scene of the crime, and he's like, "I just know it's Michael." And of course, Michael's driving around in the background while he's not paying attention.
Yes.
Everyone, as mentioned, the adults are completely oblivious to everything going on around them. What feels like the longest car ride ever. Annie and Lori are still smoking this weed. They have to be high as fuck at this point.
Absolutely. And also, I thought Tommy, like, they're going to Tommy's house, correct?
Yeah.
So Tommy was walking, like, Tommy met up with Lori. So where does Tommy live if she was walking perfectly fine and now we're driving, like,
I mean,
everywhere?
in all reality, what we learned from this film is anyone can just get into a car and drive. So I think Tommy drove to Lori's house and just parked his car and then decided to walk with her.
And then walk down. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
He's like, "I got you, girl. I'll meet you there, and then we'll
Yeah.
walk together. We get to bond."
No.
Yeah, because I mean, it is bright and sunny when they start smoking, and then
And then it's
by the
nighttime.
they arrive, it is pitch black, like pitch
Pitch
black.
black.
And
Like, what time is it?
yeah, I mean, jeez, all right, I don't even know. So they arrive
Yeah.
at the house, and they're all kind of going to their separate houses where they're watching the people. Michael is lurking around trees. He's watching people leave their houses, watching Annie go to hers, Lori go to hers as well. Dr. Loomis goes back to the Myers house, assuming that Michael is going to be there. Him and Sheriff Brackett discover a dead dog inside of the house, and Loomis is like, "Well, he must have gotten hungry." So,
Which is quite, like, I wrote down, I said, after 15 years of being in an asylum, you really think that that person or all evil's gonna eat a dog? Like,
yeah,
come on.
he's
Come
like,
on.
"Listen, this."
I mean, he did kill Lindsay's dog, but, like, that's different. He's
Yeah,
not eating dogs.
yeah. I mean, God, I hope
I
not.
hope
He's
not.
a wild man right there.
Ooh,
Man, that's where he gets his driving abilities from.
honestly.
Is whatever's in the fresh raw dog meat.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
spooky.
so they're exploring this rundown house. There's literally nothing inside of it. It seems to be a place where kids like to hang out and scare one another, just like Tommy mentioned at the beginning of the film.
Yes.
Loomis goes on to explain Michael, how he has the blackest of eyes. There's nothing to say about him other than he is pure evil, and that he'll definitely be back in town. So, basically, a little rundown of what we're getting into here is all the girls are doing their babysitting duties, and there's a bunch of dialogue about the boogeyman from Tommy. Tommy is mortified of the boogeyman and thinks that, especially on Halloween, the boogeyman is going to arrive and he's going to hurt them. And Lori likes to let him know, like, that's not going to happen. You're here with me. I got you. Annie is watching Lindsay Wallace, paying no attention to Lindsay at all. She's talking to Paul, her boyfriend, on the phone. Fun fact: Paul's voice is actually the director John Carpenter. One little nitpick thing about this scene. No offense to the actress who plays Annie, Nancy Keiss. Horrible acting, especially in this moment. In my opinion.
Oh no! Well, I agree.
The way she's talking on the phone, I'm either assuming that John Carpenter wasn't actually on the phone; she was just doing her dialogue, and then he redubbed the voice in. But the way she's speaking there's like no affliction. It's not like how normal. It's just weird.
It's just very flat. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just the way she talks like that. I'm like, what? Who? What?
Who
and then
are you?
yeah. So Paul just must not like talking to Paul or something.
Yeah.
Lindsay is watching a horror movie, which is a movie that John Carpenter actually went on to remake called The Thing. So there's another real life connection there. But Lindsay, if I'm related to, if I am any of these characters in this film, I'm Lindsay Wallace. She doesn't give a fuck about what's going on around her. She's here for the movie. She wants to watch it. She's annoyed when Annie tries talking to her.
Yes.
So that's me. I mean, guys, if I'm going to relate to anyone in this film, I am Lindsay Wallace. So
I love that. Kyle Richards, shout out. What up?
Kyle Richards from, good old Housewives. That is her.
Yep.
I mean, that's what a crazy little connection there too. And she actually comes back to reprise the role of Lindsay Wallace in the requels.
Is she?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll watch it. I'll do it.
I think I can't wait to hear what you think. We'll do more of these.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down with
We'll
that.
we'll do the Halloween franchise for sure.
Yeah. I
Don't
mean,
worry, guys.
I will let's make it there. Like, I'll do it.
Okay, excellent. No, I love to hear that. So Annie's basically planning on getting Paul to come over, and then they decide that they're all just gonna kind of meet up and toss kids to Lori while Annie goes and has sex with Paul, and Linda's gonna go have sex with Bob. And one thing, if I were the parents and knew all this stuff was happening while they were watching my kids, I'd be
I'd be
pissed.
pissed. Like,
Yeah.
first off, I'm contacting your parents. Second off, when you're not watching anybody's kids ever again.
No, no. Worst babysitters ever. Except for Lori. Lori's
I know.
fantastic.
Yeah, Lori's cool. Like, Lori's like, no, I'll watch the kids because y'all are degenerate humans. Have fun.
Yep. So Annie goes to get in the car to head over to do her thing with Paul, and she doesn't notice that the windows in the car that's parked in the garage is all fogged up. We all know that if there's something or someone in the car that's bringing excessive heat, such as a breathing man behind a mask,
Mm-hmm.
you
Forever
think she would,
breathing.
right, heavy panting. Uh, you think that that would be like, you kind of stop and be like, why are my windows fogged up? Well, not
And
Annie.
she tried to open it and it didn't open, so she had to go all the way back in the house to get the keys, then come out, and then she opens it. Like,
Yep,
oh, you didn't use the key. Don't go in the
you're
car.
correct. Yep, she's
Went in
crazy.
the car. She's
Gets in the
dumb.
car. Yeah, she gets in the car, and what I think is well, I don't want to say cool. Murder's not cool, kids. One of the
Yes,
things
don't
I
do
think
it,
is,
please.
yes, please don't. One of the things that's very interesting to me though is Michael is, and this is gonna sound weird, but Michael's like, especially in this film, like a passionate killer. He's very, he takes his time. It's not just, is that creepy to say? He gets very intimate
And no,
with
he's
the
like up close
kills.
and personal. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's almost like he's proud of it. And then at one point in time, we'll talk about, but he like admires his work. To me, that's so creepy and very like
The head tilt.
animalistic. Yeah, that's
Uh huh.
yeah. So he's in the backseat of the car. He strangles Annie, but he takes his time. He's not.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of things that he can do to just offer right away. But he's like, nope. I'm just gonna slowly strangle her and watch her, fight for her life. So
Yes.
R.I.P. Annie.
Which her dying was so dramatic, like the eye rolls, girl. She said,
Even like her screams. I mean, I feel like if you weren't in the room watching this film and or knew what you were watching, you'd be like, are
yeah,
you
you'd be
watching
like,
like you watching some like weird hardcore sex thing? Like what is
yeah,
happening?
like
Is that
what are we
some,
doing?
yeah, that's some
I
weird.
will I will say the part where she what did she get on her shirt that she had to strip down and go to the laundry room that was outside?
I think it was
And
popcorn
then
butter.
yes. So whenever she gets stuck in the window and she's screaming for Lindsay, as if that girl who's watching a movie inside past the kitchen could hear you.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's gonna hear you. Like,
No
why
one's
are you
gonna hear
screaming
you.
for her? And then
Unless,
whenever she did, she's like, you're so bothered. Like, you're bothering
yeah,
me. Your
yeah.
boy called. I also hung up on him, so have fun.
She's like, bitch, I'm watching a horror movie. What are you doing? Stop
Yeah,
screaming
like
out
you're
here.
supposed to be watching me, and here we are.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, at this point in time, Annie's dead. Tommy's looking out the window, and he happens to see across the street Michael carrying Annie's dead body just away.
Which
And
that poor Tommy, like he was going through it.
he really was. He's petrified of the boogeyman. Every time he sees the boogeyman, aka Michael Myers, no one really believes him. Lori, whenever she sees him, she can't tell anyone because he's never there when he's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Frustrating for everyone.
frustrating.
Finally cut to Bob and Linda, cute little 70s couple. Her little pigtail type things she got going on with her hair, and Bob's big ass glasses, very
I'm gonna
70s.
say this: Bob is really creepy. What he says about Lindsay, like
Yeah,
taking her clothes off or something. I say, hold on.
and
Ew.
Brittany, I have seen this movie more times than I should probably say, and I've for some reason have never noticed that. But the last time that
Yeah,
I watched it for this, I was like, wait, what? And
yeah. I said,
yes.
like, what did
Yeah.
you just say?
Yeah. So basically,
Yes,
Bob says that he's going to rip her clothes off and then he's eventually going to rip Lindsay's clothes off too. And like, why would that even be?
problematic. a
Yeah,
line
like
in a movie in
right,
general, or a
right,
thought of a child, like a routine, sir,
right.
you
Brittany,
need to go in that sane asylum.
yeah, yeah, just focus on your driving and stop worrying about saying things like that. Um,
Yeah, please.
that's also one thing too. I obviously love watching movies from the past. I mean, even like early 2000s, there are things that are said.
And
Sometimes, I
done
mean,
that.
I mean, on our last podcast, I did one of the last ones. Oh, actually, The Shining and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. They threw a couple slurs out that I was when I was watching them with Zach, and I looked at Zach like, oh wait, what? Like that? It's just
Yeah,
insane. It's insane to me. What was allowed to be said back then for them to get away with. It was okay. It was acceptable. It's disheartening. And then to hear something like this in this movie, I was just kind of like, oh shit! Like I've never noticed that before, but like not needed, not needed at
not
all.
needed, but honestly, I can see why, only because they were going by the time. So, like, whatever is written in a movie is probably what's happening in real life, which is
Yeah,
even more gross to really think about it because it's the
yeah,
reality of what this world is. So, like, but yeah, whenever he said that, I said, "Ew, get him
yeah,
out of here."
yep, yep.
So
Bob.
I'm glad that he got in the
Yep,
kitchen.
he did. He sure did. Yeah, so now Michael's in the house watching Linda and Bob make out on the couch, so he doesn't know shit's about to go down. Lori's
Mhm.
still having fun at her house with the kids, carving jack-o'-lanterns. They're, having fun. Linda gives Lori a call, and she's basically like, "We're gonna fuck, and then I'll be over." So Lori's like, "Cool, girl, have fun." So Linda and
Yeah.
Bob decide to go upstairs. What might be the weirdest sex scene in a film ever. The way their bodies are positioned, nothing makes sense to me.
At
Uh,
all. And you're in somebody else's house in the bed.
hmm
What are we
Everything about it's weird.
doing?
But then they have a jack o'
Yeah.
lantern on the nightstand next to them.
Which, like, did they bring that in though? Was it already there? Because I also wrote that in my notes. It's just chilling
Yeah,
there. You're just
it's
hanging.
just
Like,
and
hey,
it's lit up. Did you light a candle? Like I
it's
just
lit. Yeah,
it's
like
so
the ambiance. Let's get
yeah
romantic.
yeah. Let's get this jack o' lantern going. Really get it started. All right, guys. So, once they are finished, Linda pulls out a cigarette. Bob puts his glasses on, and she's like, "Go get me a beer." And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go get me one too." And she's like, "Yeah." So he heads downstairs, decides to not turn any lights on because why would you turn any
Which,
light on in a house?
in a house that you don't know anything about, of course.
Right? Yeah,
Walking in the dark.
man. Yeah. So he's navigating himself really well around the place, and he happens to notice the back door's open, and he's like, "Annie, is that you? Annie, are you here?" So he thinks that people are playing a prank on him. He starts opening up random doors and cabinets, and he opens up one door, and of course Michael pops out. He throws him up against the wall, grabs him by the neck,
And then
lifts him up in
sticks
the
them.
air, and sticks him with a big old butcher knife.
Yep.
Michael,
And he's the one who says, I'll be right back.
yep,
Dead.
he is. Yep, he never came back. Yeah, if he would have just waited a couple years and watched Scream, we
He would
would
have
have been all
known
he would have known. Never say it. So
the rules of the
Bob's
game.
Bob's dead. He's pinned up to the wall with this super strong butcher knife that just happens to go through his whole body and into the
And
wall, holding him up in the air.
and keeps him there.
It keeps him there. Yeah, and so then
Utility knife.
yeah, that's some special strong ass knife. And Michael was just standing there staring at him, tilting his head slowly side to side, almost like
Yeah.
he's admiring his artwork.
Again.
Crazy.
He's so creepy. He's so creepy.
So creepy. We're cutting to a scene where who Linda thinks is Bob, coming back up to the room with a beer, his sheet over him, just like you would do as when you were a kid, when you would throw a sheet over yourself, put two little holes in the sheet for your eyes, and so you look like a ghost. Michael, as we know, it's Michael underneath that sheet. He put Bob's glasses over the eye holes. So Linda's like, "Bob, is that you? You're so silly." She then proceeds to take her shirt off to show him her boobs to get him real excited. But Michael, of course, is just not having it. He's staring at her, just waiting for the moment to completely end her life.
Yes.
The phone rings and it's Lori, and she's like, "Have you seen Annie?" And Linda's like, "No." And Michael slowly walks behind her, and while she's talking to Lori on the phone, Michael starts to strangle her. She's screaming. Lori, being innocent Lori, is like, are you having
It's like, are
sex?
you good over there? Yeah, like,
Yeah, like
is
what's
this a bad
what's
time?
going on? Are you fooling around again? If this is a joke, I'll
Those
kill
pesky
you.
kids.
Those pesky kids. So while Michael's strangling her, his sheets slowly pulling off, and this is the first time that we really get a real up close and personal shot of the mask. Like we are right up in Michael's face. He's holding onto the phone. He hears Lori's voice, and internally, I bet you he's just like, "This is the girl I'm gonna get. I've been stalking her all day."
Yep.
So, yep.
It's like one step closer.
Yeah. So now Lori's growing a little bit concerned. Annie hasn't showed up yet. Linda's making some weird ass sounds on the other line. Loomis is still at the house hanging out and finally notices the car. The car that him and Nurse
Finally.
Marion finally. The car that him and Nurse Marion were driving when Michael broke into it. Finally notices it and says, Michael is here. He did come home. So now we're basically in the final moments of the film. We've reached the end. This is when Lori's definitely becoming a little bit more paranoid. She's basically kind of like, all right, Tommy might be right. The boogeyman might be out there, but because I'm a strong woman, I'm going to go investigate myself. I'm going to go check on my friends. She heads across the street over to the house. She sneaks in the back door. She's looking around, not really seeing much of anything. And just like Bob decides, there's no need for
Not
lights.
to know. No need. No need to
No,
see.
no needs for lights. I mean, it's fine if you just want to walk around in the
Whatever.
dark. No big deal.
Yeah.
At this point, she's not really fully scared of anything. She finally makes it upstairs, opens up the bedroom door, and this is where she finally realizes nothing is safe anymore.
Nope.
She sees Annie's dead body lying on the bed where Bob and Linda were having sex, and the tombstone also is in the bed with her. It says Judith Myers. The jack-o'-lantern still perfectly lit right next to it. What a beautiful shot.
Beautiful
Lori's now
ambiance.
perfect. Lori's freaked out. She backs up just to realize that Bob is also dead, hanging upside down,
Swinging.
swinging.
The
Man,
funhouse of her dead friends.
literally.
Stressful.
Funhouse of Dead Friends. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, and then she
Ugh.
walks to the side, and there's Linda's dead body, and she's just like, "Oh
Like,
shit!" Yep.
and it's crazy. So, like, that man carried that tombstone. He had
Mhm.
the whole time in the car, and then he carried it up the stairs after he carried
Yeah.
it. Like, he did
Yep.
some work.
Telling you, all he did when he was in the asylum was work out. He is super strength. He learned to drive.
Yeah.
His
Like, they
stalking
equipped him
skills,
with life. Impeccable. On
absolutely,
point.
man. So this brings us to one of my favorite shots of the film. Laurie's standing there completely a mess. All of her friends are dead. She's crying, and she's standing in a very dark doorway. So it leads down a hall. We can't see it. It's pitch black.
I
So the
just
way
got
that
chills.
Yep. Just gonna repaint it for you. So Lori,
I
as
just
as
got
we're as we're looking at this wide angle shot, Lori is on the left hand side of the screen. 75% of the rest of the screen is just pretty much the doorway. It's completely pitch black. As she's sobbing very slowly in the upper right hand corner of the
And she's
pitch
like,
blackness,
who?
Michael's face, just dimly lit, slowly peeks through the blackness. What an amazing shot. Like
It
that's
honestly, that was the scariest. I said, shit, he's
Mhm.
here. Like, he is
Yep.
here.
Yep, and as he gets closer and closer to her and becomes more, stands out more in the dark, he pulls out his butcher knife and goes to get Lori and cuts her shirt and part of the upper part of her arm. She then trips and fully falls down a flight of steps right on her back.
Oh, always. You have to fall. Like, it's not a horror movie unless you're running away.
Yeah, so Lori is now at the bottom of the steps. She fell right on her back, but she's good to go. She's gets right back up. She's a fighter. She's limping a little bit. She's definitely hurt her legs. She starts running through the neighborhood. She's pounding on different doors.
The neighbor
No
said,
one's
absolutely not. You're not coming in here.
yeah. So she's again door to door. People turning lights off, looking out windows, closing the blinds. They're like, nope, this crazy bitch is not getting in here at all. Michael is coming across the street after her. One thing that's very scary about Michael too, I've always said this, is makes her what makes her different I'm so sorry, what makes him different than a lot of serial killers such as Jason Voorhees, whatever, is that he really takes his time. Jason walks slow, but
Hmm.
Michael is just so, I always say Michael is so confident in what he's doing. He's like, I'm going to get to you anyway, so you take your time, run wherever you need to. I'll be in the shadows at some point in time, and I'll kill you. No big deal.
And he catches up every time, but he's just sauntering.
It's just like la la la. So Lori's
Uh-huh.
back in. Lori's back in the house. She's doesn't turn any lights on again. Man, these people. I'll help them out one day.
Right? Like,
Uh,
don't you want to see what's happening?
for real. So she grabs a really large knitting needle, which I'm proud that she is smart enough to equip herself with something to fight back. That's one thing
Yes.
I'll give Lori. Very proud of you, Lori.
Right?
We do notice that the window may be open because there is a breeze. So Lori feels like she is safe
That's
now.
how he got in. Okay, that
Mhm.
makes sense. Because I was like, how? Where'd you come
Yeah.
from?
Yeah, it's a very quick shot, but you can't really tell the window's open, but the curtain is kind of swaying a little bit.
Moves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's where we'll say Michael came from. She goes upstairs to check on the kids, and of course, Michael is. I'm so sorry. Michael jumps up behind the couch where he was hiding from when he came inside the window. She stabs him with a knitting needle. He falls over. She runs upstairs and she
Yes.
grabs the kids, and she was like, "That's the boogeyman. Like that is the boogeyman. But I'm gonna protect you." The kids hide because Michael then comes up the steps and says, "Surprise! I'm not dead, and I'm still going to kill you." Lori decides to run and hide in the closet, which is another iconic scene in the film. Unlike Mommy Dearest, we're very happy that there are wire hangers in this closet. Lori again
Yes.
uses a wire hanger. Once Michael breaks the door down, she uses the wire hanger to stab him. It throws him off and he drops the knife in the closet. So, one thing I'll say about this scene that I absolutely love is we know that Michael is very strong. We know that Michael can lift people up, carry tombstones, drive across the globe. I love that loves that he's taunting her with the door of the closet. He's
Yes.
very slowly pulling on it, giving her time, and I think this goes with like the passion it kills. He's like taunting, playing a game, like he wants to build that fear up as much as possible, and once he's ready to do what he wants to do, then he's gonna do it.
Breaks in, and you're just like,
Yep.
no.
Yep. He breaks in. He's, thrashing his hand around. He just happens to turn on the light. The first time someone turns a light on, it's the serial
Right?
killer. Thank you, Michael.
Naturally. He's
Man.
like, I need to see what I'm doing.
Yeah, he's like, bitch, where are you? So she grabs the wire hanger. She pokes him with it. He drops the knife inside the closet. She equips herself with the knife. Again, way to go, Lori. She steps out of the closet. She sees that he's down for the count, and then makes a dumb decision and throws the knife.
Naturally.
Lori, Lori,
Like,
girl.
keep it with you. Run down the stairs and get out of the
Yeah.
house. He's
Jamie
like,
Lee
no,
Curtis.
I need you to have this knife back.
Yeah, she's like, I'll leave this here for you just in case you wake up from your nap.
Just in case
Uh,
if you want to like get up. Here you
yeah,
go.
right. And Lori. So Jamie Lee Curtis actually said that one of the things that people always talk to her about, they'll always ask her, why did you throw the knife once you got out of the closet? And she was like, I don't know. But it's funny
Like,
because she
oh
says
no, that's what they told me to do it.
right? So yeah, I think it's funny that Jamie brings that up, that people bring that up to her and she talks about it. So she tells the kids, she's like, I beat the boogeyman, you're good, but I want you to run down to the Mackenzie's house, call the police, tell them all about it. You'll be safe over there. She takes a minute to collect herself, and in the background, we see Michael Myers slowly rising up from the ground. Very acrobatic move, too. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of iconic as well, like the way he just like pulls his body up. I mean, whatever. If you've seen the movie, you definitely know what I'm talking about, but
Yes,
it's
absolutely. It's like his back is straight and he just like a
uh-huh.
bird and you're like,
Yep.
what is
Man,
happening? Your back didn't
I'd
even
be
bend.
right? I'd be like pulling myself over, like, oh, trying to get up.
Yeah, 10 Taylor, like, give me a second.
Yeah, my back. So Lori's collecting herself in the doorway. She stands up. She's so proud. She's safe. All of her friends are dead, though.
Yeah.
He's very slowly walking behind her. Because the audience are like, shit, better turn around, Lori. So, Jamie behind you. Jamie behind you. Back to scream. So Michael
Yep.
finally grabs her. He tries strangling her. She decides to grab onto his mask and slowly pull it up, which is something that doesn't happen often in horror films, which we actually get to see the face underneath the mask. And one of the things I do love about it is that it's a normal man. It's not your Jason Voorhees where half of his face is disfigured and things like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah. So
um,
which makes it even spookier because it could be anybody. Could be anybody.
absolutely. Yep. Back with that simplicity of it all. So Loomis then decides to use the gun because he has now shown up at the house to save the day. He shoots him multiple times, causing Michael to flinch and slowly walk backwards and fall off the balcony of the second level of the house, flat on the ground. So basically, at this point in time, Michael is dead. Loomis has saved the day, and Lori asked, yeah, Lori asked this man that she's never met before, Dr. Loomis. She says, what what is the boogeyman? It was the boogeyman. And he was like, in matter of fact, that was the boogeyman. So he walks back over to look at Michael's dead body, and he's gone. Michael is now
He's gone. In the wind.
in the
Hopped in that
wind.
car and ran.
Yep. So watch me fly away. Lori is distraught. She's crying, and we get a few shots of the interior of houses as we hear Michael's breathing. We see exterior shots of houses as Michael is breathing, and we finally smash cut to the title card of Halloween as the end credits roll. One of my favorite things about the very ending of the film is the random shots that we've seen throughout the film of houses, inside houses, and hearing Michael's breathing. I feel that is their way of saying evil is still out there. Michael is still lurking in the shadows, and you never quite know where he's going to be.
Or when he's going to come.
Or when he's
At
going to
all.
just pop out of them damn shadows. So that is John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yeah. We love
Yeah,
it.
you made it. You've watched it. How many times did you say you watched it now?
3 times.
3 times.
3.
Oh, cool. And we
Yeah.
just broke it.
Yeah.
We just broke it down now. The script of that film took 3 weeks to write, which I think is pretty cool too.
Oh, that's full. 3 weeks to write, 20 days to film. That I
Yeah.
mean, that's honestly very impressive for an independent film like that, because you can tell like it wasn't obviously this huge budget, because it was also back in the 78. So it was a huge budget for them at that time.
Mhm.
But for what it is, like he did a fantastic job.
I agree.
I think it was honestly so good. I gave it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. I love that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And you can tell like how much it influenced so many other horror, even with like Scary Movie, it's influenced, because that was influenced from Scream and just like little bits and pieces.
Yeah. I think I also give Halloween an 8 out of 10.
Thanks.
There's little things to nitpick about it here and there. That's any film.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, just its legacy alone just tells you that you're watching something pretty amazing. So it was actually at the time, one of the most successful independent films ever made. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it held that title all the way up until 1999 with the Blair Witch Project. So, yeah.
That's shocking. Well, I can see why the Blair Witch Project like took over that, because it was such a talked about thing. It was like a new form of filming movies.
Mhm. Yeah.
Did people know about Halloween like whenever it came out?
Yeah. Yeah. So, are you talking about like
Like
when
how
it
was
came
it
out?
advertised? Yeah, like back in 78, was this like a thing that everybody had to see, or did it kind of everybody was talking about it and it slowly progressed into what it
So
is
yes.
today?
So I think right before Halloween of 78. So they filmed in the spring of 78. They released it in the fall of 78. So I mean they fast tracked everything. And
Wow.
I believe it premiered in LA and New York, as most movies do, even to this day. And
Yes.
there was a lot of good word of mouth. Critics didn't necessarily love it at the time. They didn't really feel that there was anything to really grab onto. They didn't really talk about any great acting moments. That it was scary, but it wasn't necessarily like the scariest thing. There was no blood. That seemed to be the talked about thing. However, audiences that were seeing it were talking about how scary it was, that the score was creepy, that Michael was scary. The third city they opened it up in November of 1978 was Pittsburgh. Hmm.
That's cool. Love
Yep.
that.
So
Hometown advantage.
hometown, hey. Yeah. So Pittsburgh played a big part of being at the very beginning of Halloween's financial success. The film ended up going, worldwide. It ended up at the time back in 1978. It grossed $47 million. So with inflation today, it would be roughly about 300 to 350 million dollars. For a little
And for a
independent film.
budget, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
get that
So
money, get that bag. I
absolutely.
love that.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Anything else about Halloween you want to talk about?
I would say this, I really like the stills at the end because it showed from it like started from the end back to the beginning where it all started, which I thought was really cool and
Yeah.
creative for a
Yeah.
director to do.
Yeah.
I just think that Jamie Lee Curtis, I love her. And I mean, I grew up watching her in comedy. House Arrest, shout out, one of the best
Hey.
movies, in my opinion. But like, I think she did a great job for starting out. There were a few really green actors, obviously, um, in that film. All in all, I think they all did a great job to make an iconic film.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. And then for it to spawn 13 more films, obviously there was a lot of people who are willing to continue the franchise. Which Halloween movies have you watched?
So I watched this one, the second one. I rewatched Halloween H2O. I haven't watched the other ones because I was like, I don't know if I actually like really want to get into it. But Halloween H2O wasn't as scary as what I remembered it to be.
Mhm.
And whatever idea my 10-year-old brain created of Michael Myers was far worse than what's in the movies.
No, I get that. I mean, I will say, I'll be honest with you, it's not a perfect franchise by any means, but there are a lot of really great moments in most of the films. Halloween 3 doesn't even have Michael Myers in it at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they decided to make it like an anthology type thing. Michael Myers isn't even talked about, I don't think. And it just kind of focuses on a cult of masks that people wear for Halloween. When the kids put it on their face, it kills them. That's what the movie is.
It's giving goosebumps.
It is giving
It's
goosebumps.
giving. I don't know if I would like that because I would never put a mask on my face again.
Right, no doubt. I will say, even like the Goosebumps, the mask episode, the haunted mask, it
Yeah.
still that's creepy for a kid's Goosebump film.
And I mean,
100%.
and this is why I like spooky things is I mean, Goosebumps was in my pocket all the time, but
Yeah.
it scared the shit out of me as a 9-year-old.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So good.
Well, I've never watched Halloween 3, so I can't even give a formal opinion. I'll be honest, I'm the asshole who wants nothing to do with it because I love Michael Myers. I love the original film so much that I don't want to waste my time.
That's fair.
I have all the films on 4K except for Halloween 3 because I don't want to give it any money. Yeah, cool, Dave. Cool,
Which
Dave.
is that the Rob Zombie one or who which one did he
So
make?
Rob Zombie's film is actually, if you're putting it in order, it would be the 9th film in the series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Buster Rhymes? No.
That is number 8. Okay, so real quick timeline. Canon for the first one, you have Halloween 1, Halloween 2. Halloween 3, 4, and 5 aren't necessarily fully canon with the first 2 films. So we would go Halloween 1, 2, and Halloween 7, which is H2O. That was Laurie, coming back 20
20 years later.
Yep. She's still dealing with Michael Myers, all the trauma from him. And then Halloween 8, which is right after Halloween H2O. Big spoiler alert, Halloween 7 ends with Laurie axing Michael's head, which I think is a fantastic ending to their story. I love it.
Same. I loved that. And
So,
rightfully so, because Joseph wouldn't love it.
I know, what an
Ice skate.
asshole.
That was rude.
Who
Such
would
a
do
fucking
that?
rude thing to do. He was so cute.
Did you notice that the nurse at the beginning of the film is Nurse Marion from the original one?
Yes,
Perfect.
I did.
Good.
I was like, and it makes more sense, and that's why honestly I enjoy they made that because they used the same characters. And it's like this was the woman from the first one and the second one, and here she is today, not really believing that all of this already happened. but she's
Yep.
like, it's a little crazy, a little
Yep.
crazy in there.
A little crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. So then Halloween 8, I'm gonna ruin something for you, but I think we should talk about it. Halloween 8
Yes.
is obviously the sequel to H2O. Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis, is actually in the film, but she's
Uh-huh.
only the opening scene. She is now in a psychiatric ward herself, from all the trauma from H2O, but also the plot twist to the end of H2O was that wasn't Michael's head that she chopped off. Michael switched bodies. He put not switched bodies, but he switched his outfit with I think it was a paramedic or a cop, one of the two. He switched outfits with them. So Michael actually walked
And he was
off
shot between the tree.
and that so the person trapped between the tree was the paramedic wearing Michael's outfit. He couldn't speak because he was crushed. So Lori actually killed someone just like her brother.
That
So now
upsets me.
yeah. And then Michael shows up at the beginning of the film, and he actually kills Laurie at the beginning of Halloween 8, which is Halloween Resurrection. Everyone was pissed. And then the rest of the film is some stupid webcam live reality show with Busta Rhymes. Tyra Banks is the head of the whole thing. They decide to put a bunch of people in the Myers house overnight. Kind of a cool concept, especially for the time. But the execution was
It
so
was
weird.
during what year is that? It was probably during whenever MTV did that like fear whatever they'd send people
Yeah.
into like an abandoned warehouse and film.
Yep,
Okay,
that's
that makes
exactly
sense.
it.
A lot of shows and stuff did that era
Yeah.
type thing.
Yes. So it's fitting with the time, but it honestly doesn't really stand
Makes sense for the movie,
yeah.
for
When you
the
watch it now,
franchise. That's
it's kind of
annoying.
silly. Yeah, it's kind of silly. Busta Rhymes' character, he knows kung fu, and he fights Michael with his kung fu. You should watch it. It's a treat.
You're fighting all evil with kung fu. Love it.
I mean, good job, Busta. We're proud of you.
I
Yep,
know
and
we love him, but
we do.
interesting.
And then we got two Rob Zombie remakes. You haven't seen those, have you?
I have not. No.
I actually enjoy Rob Zombie's first film, like the first remake of the film.
Mhm.
It's super white trash. It's definitely a way different vibe than the OG Halloween. I think I would like it a little bit more if it wasn't necessarily Michael Myers. It could have just been a random serial killer because you do get a lot of
Yeah.
background on Michael as a child and how he was abused, and you get to see all of that stuff, which is one of the things that I do like about this Halloween movie is that you don't see any of that stuff. He's just evil.
Yeah.
But I do recommend the first Halloween from Rob Zombie. The second one's awful. I don't recommend it. They do
Okay.
they like jump into dreams and things.
Oh, that's some
And then
Freddy
we get
Krueger shit right there.
some Freddy Krueger shit, and then we finally get the requel, which ignores everything else, and that is there's three of them. There's Halloween, just titled Halloween, and then Halloween. The sequel to that is Halloween Kills, and then there's Halloween Ends. So,
A friend of mine told me to watch Halloween Ends the other day.
So watch Halloween, then Halloween Kills, and then Halloween Ends, and then we can do it on camera or not. But I definitely would love to hear your take on those being the direct sequels to this one.
I'm down with that because I want to see how it holds up. Because I mean, an 8 out of 10 is pretty good for the start of the whole franchise.
Absolutely.
The second one I didn't like. I gave it a 4. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, Halloween 2, basically they took all the negative things they heard and they said, okay, we'll give that to you, which is a lot more kills, a lot more blood, whatever, and then they kill Michael in the end, and
it was just unnecessary, I feel.
Yeah, I loved Halloween so much as a kid that, as most of you know, I used to make movies when I was younger. Back in middle school, me and my friends decided to write a story. We didn't write a script. We wrote a story about a Halloween movie, and we decided to film this movie. We were at my house. I made my parents hide out in the bedroom with the door closed so we can make this movie. We did it for like 6 or 7 hours, and we made up our own dialogue as we went along. I'm the first kill in the movie, so I made a Halloween movie with my friends, and it was, get this, so it was the sequel to H2O. So this is before the internet was real crazy, and I even knew that there was going to be a sequel. And we titled the movie Halloween Resurrection, which is actually what they titled the sequel to H2O. So I was like, "Where's my money?"
I love that
Yeah, my storyline to it was we were in a town over from Haddonfield, and I'm one of the other kids of Laurie Strode, and I find out that Laurie killed Michael, and I'm really happy. There's like a news break on the TV, and we had, like little newscaster that it was safe to go back out on Halloween night. But me and my friends decided that it'd be really fun and silly to find a book of resurrection and read it out loud in the graveyard to bring Michael Myers back. And we do it, and my friends are like, "This is stupid," or I'm sorry, all my friends are scared, and I'm like, "This is stupid. It's not real." And then, of course, Michael comes back. I get murdered. There's a chase scene inside the
Naturally.
house, and yeah, and then Well, then I played Michael the rest of the time, and there's even a scene in it where I try to sit up like he does in the original movie, and whatever. I know it's stupid, but
Wait, no, I want to
Halloween.
see this. Do you still have
It's on
it?
YouTube actually. It's on YouTube actually.
Perfect. Perfect. Send me the link. I'm watching.
Perfect. Awesome. It's so awful. Like it's literally ridiculous. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because Halloween does have such a big impact on my love for movies, my love for horror movies, and it means a lot to me. And when I heard that you had never seen it, and we had so much in common with films that we like, I was like, Brittany, we need you to watch this movie. So I'm glad that you were a part of it. I'm glad you got to see it for what it was, and I'm glad that you gave it an 8 out of 10. And yeah, so thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was honestly terrified whenever you said you're gonna watch this, and I was like, okay,
You're
because
like,
I
screw
was
you, Dave.
pacing around my living room, like I cannot do this, but I made it through. So thank you for letting me get over my fear
You're
of
welcome.
that man. Now, granted,
That
I
man.
still walk outside and I think about him. I see
Oh, for
pictures and I'm
sure.
like, is he back there? But I
Hmm.
can at least watch the movies now and see it like on the TV and be like, okay,
Yeah.
it
Well,
doesn't
good.
bother me as much. Because that hat would have scared the shit out of me if I didn't want. Like if you just
Yeah.
casually walk by me, I'd be like, yo, take it off.
Yo. Yeah, guys, I'm actually wearing a Halloween hat. It's a black hat with orange lining on it and has Michael Myers on it holding a bloody knife, and it says the Halloween logo really big. As you
Staying in
guys
my
know,
soul.
yeah, he's been watching her the whole time. Actually, he's behind you, peering through the window, but we'll talk about that later.
I'm glad that's the case because I would have been like turning around and
Yeah.
I can see it.
Oh, damn. I tried. I tried. I actually told Brittany, guys, that I was going to get a Michael Myers mask to have on, so whenever she came on the camera, I was just be Michael staring at her. So I didn't commit to that though, but you know,
It would have been hilarious. I would have. It would have been hilarious.
yeah. You still reacted to the hat though, so I'm proud of that.
I did. It worked.
Cool. Awesome.
This is so
Well,
much
Brittany,
fun.
yeah, I really appreciate you doing this. I had a great time with you. I'd like to welcome you back for another episode sometime.
Absolutely.
We'll chat about something you want to do or whatever, and maybe I'll introduce you to something else or get you over your fear of something else as well. So, uh,
I'm here for it.
perfect. Well, thanks again, Brittany. I really appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Everybody listening,
Thank you,
thanks for
Dave.
thanks for checking out. Thanks, Brittany. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.